Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is March the 23rd, 2018. Long-term thinking, strong hand, golden hold. Okay, we have a very special show today. Sorry for the delay, but we had some technical difficulties, but we had to get this unique group of dudes together. You guys all know Vortex, of course. Now, do you know Daniel of the 21 Million Club? Oh, I've talked about him a lot on this show, and I've tried to get him on the show before. He's coming from Mexico today, and finally I got him on. Maybe you've used his consultancy before. Then we've got Edward coming in all the way from New York City, and he is going to talk about what's going on with Bgold, that crypto dividend that was the first friendly fork of Bitcoin. I get a lot of questions about it. We want to hear what's going on. The panel's got questions for him. Maybe you guys in the chat have questions for him too. Feel free to ask some chat questions. Someone will be looking in the chat. You can do the super chat too. So this week has been pretty calm. I mean, nothing too exciting, but was something that jumped out at me was that the Segwit transactions, there are more of them than Bcash transactions. And it brought me back to a year ago when everyone was yelling, we must hard fork. The Segwit is not a good solution. People were not patient. People didn't want to be patient. And now the patience has paid off. Segwit has calmed everything down. And so it makes me wonder in a year what, how if people are patient, what things are going to be like. So Vortex, what's your take on this? Segwit and that you were around a year ago. You saw the panic. What's going on this week here?
Yeah, I've been around for a little while now, Adam. It seems been around in the space since 2012 and started kind of talking about it publicly in 2014. And then started my show in 2015. So, yeah, I've been through the whole scaling debate. It went on for years and such like that. And of course, the culmination of it was Bitcoin Cash splitting off and forking off, which is something, of course, that anybody already could do. That's kind of the only thing that they proved, really, in my opinion, is that you are free to fork Bitcoin at any time. So that's kind of really the only thing that they actually proved. Because their experimentation, their experiment for on-chain scaling is failing miserably. With less transactions than Dogecoin, with no ability for Lightning, with just basically not improving anything, literally anything at all. They just completely forked everybody's code, right? Adam Back, Greg Maxwell, all of these amazing cryptographers that are known in the space, they forked off their code, removed, Segwit, and continued with that chain. And as we see today that from all sorts of research, from Microsoft research to additional research, that on-chain scaling is just not something that actually works. It's not something that you can actually compare with something like Visa or Visa levels or databases. It is in fact inherently slow. And it is inherently slow for a very, very, very important reason. And of course, that reason is censorship, censorship resistance to make sure that it is decentralized. So and now, of course, we have Lightning on mainnet, and there's thousands of channels going on there. And so it's at this point, it just, I guess it really just took patience, to kind of see what was going to happen. A lot of times in politics, and this was no difference, when somebody, a person can really reveal themselves and their true nature by seeing how rushed what they want to actually come to being is, right? When they want something, when they want to see something, right? If they want that rushed, if they want to say that the sky is going to fall tomorrow if we don't get this, right? If that is how they're going to try to communicate to the people, to the community, then that is a huge red flag. And that's what Bitcoin Cash did. That's what Bitcoin XT did, Bitcoin Unlimited, and on, and Roger, and on. This is not just in Bitcoin politics, but politics around the world. So that's a really big red flag. And of course, as I tried to tell people for a long time, the sky is not falling. We will survive this. We do need a fee market. The fee market is what's going to support Bitcoin after there's no more block rewards. So that is something that needs to happen. And then, of course, now with Lightning, we're going to go unlimited. Like literally, we're going to go exponential with the transactions because Lightning is instant. So we can use applications and AI and on and on and on to start using Lightning, which will, again, just bring the amount of transactions up exponentially, which will be good, of course, for the whole ecosystem, for miners, and for everybody. So again, it just took patience to see how things played out. But, it's not, the game's not over yet, of course, but, they have less transactions than Dogecoin, no Segwit, and no Lightning. And now we have more Segwit transactions than Bitcoin Cash. So it looks like, the A team is winning, and we'll see how it plays out.
So you're very satisfied with how this Segwit thing has turned out. I mean, it's exactly as you expected.
Absolutely. Remember, some of the big myths that the Bitcoin Cash side was pointing out was, of course, first that Segwit will be your transactions will actually be able to be stolen with a Segwit address. That was that was the FUD that they were putting out. And of course, not one single Satoshi has ever been stolen from a Segwit address. We are now looking at all-time highs of Segwit usage on the Bitcoin network. And then the next one, of course, was the Lightning Network was vaporware. Right, even though it was on testnet with thousands of channels, now it's on LiveNet with thousands of channels. So they've actually been forced to respond. And of course, now they're saying that Lightning is centralized, right? When of course that's the myth that they're pushing now, which again is completely ridiculous. And I really encourage your audience and everybody to go check out Andreas Antonopoulos' videos about how he basically dispels some of the rumors and some of the myths about Lightning Network, and he does it in just a great job as he always does with everything. Highly recommend everybody check it out.
Awesome. I want to remind everyone, hey, this t-shirt that I'm wearing right here, what does this say? Run BTC. This is one of those new t-shirts that I got from cryptoverge.com. So check out that link below. I know people have asked about the new t-shirts. And also check out the links below because you can see 21 Million Club. You can see Edward's links. You can see Bgold link. You can see Vortex's link. And of course, everyone, remember to subscribe to this channel and pound that like button. And thank you, Craig Ship, over there in the super chat for the $2. Maybe I'll Craig, I'll be in town for a little while now. Maybe I'll see you in a couple days or weeks or whatever out there. He's in Maryland, just like I'm back in Maryland, people. Hello. All right. So let's get back to this thing. 21 Million Club, Daniel, down in Mexico. What do you think about the Segwit situation? Are you satisfied with what's going on here?
I love it. A lot of people say it's too expensive. I saw a video recently on YouTube saying that a certain coin was cheaper and faster than Bitcoin. And I told him, you know what, Segwit is here, and it's all cheap now. So this guy replied to me saying, no, it's not. Well, I replied to him. I told him, you know what, dude, if you don't want your Bitcoin, if you don't like your Bitcoin, I'll take it. I'll make an address just for you, and I'll take it, man. Like I don't have any problems with it. So, he started insulting, and I was like, "What are you, like 10? Are you seriously like you doing this?" And I mean, I love Bitcoin. I love Segwit. I know what it has. I love what it has been doing for the space. And like Vortex says, if people say that it's needed quickly, it's just a bad idea. Good things take time, and Segwit took time, and it's excellent. So I don't have a problem with it. I love it.
It takes patience and it takes education. You got to learn. You can't have these reactionary, quick, impulsive decision-making reactions. You've got to be patient. And I want to say with you're a tech guy. So is Vortex. You are down in Mexico, and I got to give you, I talk about being in motion, and you are a guy that is in motion. You have started up your own consultancy down there. You help people with the crypto dividends. You help them with anything, and I link to it below. And I just want to point out, everyone, that Daniel is an example of the borderlessness of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. That this guy, his clients are probably mostly from North America and everything, but he's living down in Mexico. Bitcoin is truly the land of opportunity for him. He's, charging in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or whatever. He's earning a good, hey man, use him. I hope he's earning good cryptocurrency there, and he's able to live above the lifestyle that most of the people around. He's making a Western salary in Mexico. So, dude, and so anyone in any country can do this. That is the beauty of cryptocurrency. And maybe that's not a news item of this week. That's a news item of every week, because every single one of you can be in motion, start your own consultancy, somehow earn cryptocurrency and bring it into your country and raise your living life, your lifestyle basically on cryptocurrency. So Daniel, before we move on to the Bgold thing real quick, anything you want to say about Mexico and Bitcoin specifically? Because you've obviously got some awesome insight.
Yeah, a lot of people had asked me about, Bitcoin, how it was, and if it was being used for ransom. Apparently, it wasn't until I think last week when a YouTuber, it was a motivational YouTuber, decided to kidnap a lawyer and ask for the ransom in Bitcoin. That guy's in jail, and the charge for the sentence for kidnapping, it's life in prison. So don't do anything illegal, don't do anything stupid. And if you're gonna invest in Bitcoin, make sure you do your research. Most of my clients are victims of fraud. They're victims of Gladio Coin, BitConnect, and all of those.
Mhm.
And they just go for, I want to make money quickly and I want to make money now, and they end up getting burned.
Dude, this is a great reminder, because now people call this a down market now, because in terms of dollars, the price of Bitcoin is down. So the scams aren't as, should we say, prominent. But once things get rolling again, we're going to hear about the next Gladio coin or BitConnect or OneCoin or whatever, and it's just going to pop up there again. And just be careful, people. Be careful. There are no easy ways of making money in life. Hold on to that Bitcoin. Really hold on to that Bitcoin. Okay, but now, Edward, but before we get to you about what's going on with Bgold, you were nodding your head a lot along the way when we were talking about Segwit. Do you have something to add about all that?
Yeah, a couple things I'd like to add. First off, I agree with everything I heard from Daniel. I agree with everything I heard from you and everything I heard from Vortex. It's very exciting to me, both on Segwit and on Lightning Network. I find myself talking a lot to traditional finance people, because I come more from the finance side of things, the traditional side. I'm sure I'm the oldest guy on this podcast. But these people, when I talk to them, I have to stress completely different things. When they talk about stuff like the criminal activity and the money laundering, all I have to do is remind them how much money laundering happens with this stuff. They all know how much criminal activity happens with this. They see it all the time. So the amounts that we're talking about happening with Bitcoin are actually trivial compared to that. When it comes to stuff like Segwit and the fees, none of the big players with money think anything of the small fees we were seeing for Bitcoin transactions. But more importantly, they realize that the fees were actually an incentive to make the progress. Segwit adoption didn't take off until people started using Segwit with their wallets, until the big vendors who move a lot of Bitcoin started adopting Segwit. It's the adoption that made the big change on chain. And that's what we've seen happen. Now, how many of you think that they would have, with the big companies like a Coinbase, would dedicate a lot of time and energy and dev resources to getting wallets running with Segwit if it didn't cost them anything and if nobody was pushing them to do it? But the fees went up. The fees were an incentive to miners, but also they pressured the enterprises to get involved, to get it done. And now that it's done, we see Segwit taking off. And the same thing's going to happen with Lightning. They don't see the benefits of Lightning until it's happening on mainnet. But now that it's happening, now that it's growing, the pressure will be there. People will be demanding that their exchanges, that their markets use Lightning. And when people ask for it and when the wallet support is there, it'll take off, just like Segwit did, just like Bitcoin did. It's all about getting that adoption. It takes some time. It takes some patience. But once they see it, it takes over.
And I think patience is a good segue into talking about Bgold here, because a lot of people want to see it go back to the moon right this second. And let's see it now. Why is it down? What's going on? I want my instant gratification. I held on to this, and now it's gone down. What's going on? So that's a good segue into this. But before you get onto what you're going to give us a complete update about Bgold, you mentioned Coinbase there. What have you heard when Coinbase? The people are, one thing that I get a lot from people that contact me is like, why isn't Coinbase giving me my Bgold? Have you heard about that lately at all?
I hear about it an awful lot. Why aren't they distributing and why aren't they carrying? And people ask us all the time to get Bitcoin Gold listed on Coinbase. I'm sorry, we don't control them. We give them everything they need. We've provided everything they asked for. In many respects, we've provided more than other coins that they have listed. But it's still their choice whether or not to list. The only people they might listen to is their customer base.
Now, there's a big difference between them listing it, because I don't think they're going to list it, and them giving people the Bgold that they're holding, because a lot of people had their Bitcoin there at the time of the fork. So they owe people, in theory, they owe people Bgold. So that's a lot different than listing it. This is something they're going to get sued over, I think, eventually. I really think they're going to get sued.
I can't get involved in making legal threats, but I'll say that what you're saying makes a lot of sense. If they don't take care of distributing assets that they hold in a fair manner, they're liable to find themselves a victim of a class action lawsuit. Yeah. Okay, everyone, real quick, pound that like button. Take it away, Edward, to give us what's going on with Bgold. Okay, so just talking about the patience and the people wanting the moon all the time, we do hear that, of course. People want to see things get pumped up. Being someone from the traditional markets, I hate the word pump, because pump always means pump and dump. And it always reminds me that things that shoot up and drop all the time, those pay off the automated traders, those pay off the momentum traders, but the regular investors all get screwed when that happens. When the price rises and they try to follow and then it drops back down, the regular investors all get screwed. So it's about a patience game. It's about building a platform that's going to be able to grow, scale, and expand, and that's what we've been focusing on. We've just recently put up a new testnet. It's our third version of the testnet with a full set of resources, with Explorer behind it and faucets and all the resources developers need. We've ported over a couple of libraries now, and we're working on an additional library so that people have access to the tools they're used to working with. On mainnet, last month, we put out our new Explorer, which is a full Insight Explorer, which exposes the API so developers can get direct access to the chain while using light wallets. We're in the process of putting out an SPV wallet. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone who's following the project that we're due to be putting out an Electrum fork very shortly. I can tell you that I've already used it on testnet. So it's up and running, but they're still working out some bugs and fixing them, putting it up, and that should be out in the relatively near future. We got a lot going on in terms of partnerships. We see more and more services and vendors using Bitcoin Gold and asking us for help in signing up with Bitcoin Gold. We recently started a new initiative called Bitcoin Pay, BTG Pay, which is a little confusing to some people. We're not starting a service ourselves. What we're doing is starting a collaboration effort between services and merchants so that people can more easily integrate Bitcoin Gold into their existing systems and make it easier for people to find who is accepting Bitcoin Gold. And we're happy to say that's actually taking off nicely. We're getting contacts from merchants on the one side, we're getting contacts from service providers on the other, and we're looking forward to putting together sort of a set of sites where people could find and connect to each other so they can connect directly to all the e-commerce systems that they use, the e-commerce, Magento, WooCommerce. All these plugins have methods that they can use to access Bitcoin Gold, but also other cryptocurrencies. We're not Bitcoin. We are effectively another coin. So we're often classified with the altcoins, but we're pushing for all of us to be more accessible to the public, to be more accessible to merchants, to be more accessible to developers. Now, in the long term, we think that's going to play out well for Bitcoin Gold. We are trying to be a friendly fork, as you said it earlier, both to Bitcoin and to the crypto community generally. I know a lot of people had their doubts early on. I think we've proven our genuineness and our sincerity over the months since launch. We're still, only about 4 months old since launch, so we're a very, very young coin. But I think we've established a pattern of being honest, sincere, and genuine, and that's laying the foundation. We're putting the tools there for people to use. We're building a reputation as being responsible. We're being very good stewards as much as we can with the endowment funds that we have to support the project for the next few years. It all makes me very, very optimistic. The fact that the price is at X today instead of Y yesterday, it's not a primary concern. Of course, we want the price to go up long term, but we want it to do that based on growing value. We want to build value and have that drive the price up.
Now, in turn, you guys have an advantage over so many other coins out there, and that is you can store you can store Bgold on a Trezor. This is amazing. This is so many other coins want to be in that situation. And I feel like you guys have a story to tell. And I think you got to stress that as part of your story. And I don't know. I don't know what you guys got to come up with an easily digestible story. I mean, that would be one point of advice I would give. And I think to go into a direction of maybe positioning yourself as a coin that's used in transactions, something to compete with Bcash even, because there's a lot of bad feelings toward Bcash out there.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can say you're the anti-Bcash, that might help. I don't know. These are I'm bringing up positive aspects that I see out there, unique aspects that I think should be incorporated into an easy to understand story. You guys, obviously, you have a marketing team out there, and are you trying to position? How are you guys trying to position yourself? Where do we see yourself going in terms of marketing and getting the word out there?
Okay, so we haven't been taking a sort of aggressive position in terms of placing ourselves as the anti-Bcash. But in terms of what we're doing, you can see that that's kind of how we're positioned. I mean, obviously, the fork was first announced around the time of the Bcash launch. So it obviously was spurred in part by it. And anyone who's seen Jack's earlier presentations or heard Jack talk about, the Bitcoin civil war, as he calls it, clearly we are a response to that. But really, we're positioning ourselves two ways. One is as a very useful, easily exchanged transfer coin. We're on 40 exchanges last time I looked. We're available to transact into 7 different fiat currencies and 10 different cryptos. That makes it easy to move around. At the same time, we're becoming more and more popular among merchants and online services. So that's on the one side of it. As far as the consumer, that's not the pitch the consumer wants to hear. Our angle for them is basically we are trying to do what Bitcoin used to do. We're letting everybody mine it themselves again. I mean, right now, the existing count for Bitcoin and for Bitcoin Gold is 16.5, 17 million. The 21 million club is obviously named for the fact that there's only going to be 21 million. So there's another 4 million Bitcoin to be created. There's also another 4 million Bitcoin Gold to be created. Who's going to get those next 4 million coin? Well, if you're doing something like Bcash, those 4 million coin are going to a couple particular pockets, and it's all people who own expensive miners. And to some degree, that's also true of Bitcoin, but it's not true of Bitcoin Gold. For Bitcoin Gold, anyone with a computer that's got a graphics card can get involved in mining and get some of those coins. So the distribution of the next 4 million Bitcoin Gold is going to be to individuals all over the world. It could be to a small miner in Mexico, to a small miner in Africa, to a small miner in Southeast Asia. And those people could become part of the crypto ecosystem now. Those people can become consumers that can spend those Bitcoin Gold instead of just putting that all in the pockets of someone who already owns an enormous warehouse full of equipment. That's the mission. That's the mission, to bring it back to the way it was back in Satoshi's days, when everybody who had coin, who ran a wallet, was a miner. It was one CPU, one vote. That goes right back to what the original idea was.
Indeed. And I like that mining aspect of it, getting the regular dude involved again. I want to say this. You guys are going to have your BTG halving. You should have a BTG halving clock on your site, to get everybody pumped for the day that there's going to be the halving. Now it'll probably be, your halving will happen before the Bitcoin halving, I think. I don't know. They're all a little off now. They're not all going to happen at the same time. That's just a little bit of a marketing gimmick from me. But rest of the panel here, Daniel and Vortex, do you have any questions here for Edward? Any statements about what's going on?
Well, first of all, the Trezor API, they're coming out with an API that will allow more and more coins to be able to be easily added to Trezor. So that's kind of a cool thing. But maybe I just want to talk about really quickly how GPU mining is really bad and why Bitcoin moved beyond it. The biggest thing is that the GPU mining sector itself is quite centralized. There's only 2 major manufacturers, which is AMD and NVIDIA. And the reason for that is because GPU mining is incredibly complex. GPU, the chip itself is incredibly complex. ASIC is great because it allows for decentralization because it only does one thing. So any manufacturer can actually get into it. You don't have to actually, it won't centralize as much as something like NVIDIA and AMD. So what that does is that makes ASIC mining a lot more secure, a lot more decentralized, and that's a big thing, and that's a big win for Bitcoin. So the whole GPU mining thing, just want to make sure that people understand the caveats of why Bitcoin moved beyond this and why it's good, and why GPU mining is generally not a good thing. Now, when you're talking so for example, like the coin itself could never actually be as secure as Bitcoin, right? Because it uses GPU mining. It can never be as decentralized because it uses GPU mining. So my question, I guess, would be to you, Edward, is do you agree with these things? And what is your comment on that?
No, I can't say I agree. I mean, it's if you think about it, ASICs are expensive, partly because they're priced based on the price of Bitcoin, not on the cost of manufacturing them. But ASICs are expensive and they're manufactured by a small number of people. But the other thing about ASICs is there's no other use for them. Think for a moment about all the other uses for a piece of hardware that does nothing but SHA-256.
Right.
Now that we've listed all of those uses, you could use it as a paperweight or swing it at someone in self-defense, but that's about it. GPUs won't be that centralized because the primary purpose is not mining. There's only two major manufacturers of GPUs, sure, but neither of them have a major product line for mining. They're playing with providing cards specific to mining, but the vast majority of their cards are designed for gamers, designed for people doing graphics rendering, designed for people producing movies. And in addition, GPUs have other uses. They're used heavily in scientific computing. They're used heavily for simulations. They're used a lot for artificial intelligence, for neural networks. Some of the bigger things that NVIDIA, for example, is doing is not for mining. They're building stuff for self-driving cars. They're building the AI and visual systems for self-driving cars. These companies produce many things for many purposes, and mining is not the only thing, which means there's a competitive market, and there will continue to be a competitive market. It won't be just for mining, and the pricing will be based on that competition. The pricing won't be based on how many Bitcoin they think you can mine over the coming months so that they can demand that much from you. The pricing is going to be a fair price for the hardware because there can be competition. If they overprice mining hardware in terms of GPUs, others will come in and compete. They do.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess I'll just end my final comment about it will just be, GPUs are already incredibly centralized. Obviously, the production of them, NVIDIA and AMD, that's not going to be changing anytime soon. And then I guess the second is that, more use cases is your entire argument for Bitcoin, for GPUs is that it has more use cases. But of course, all of that is completely irrelevant because there is only one thing that Bitcoin needs to do to secure the network, right? Is to secure the network. It doesn't need to create, AI and all the things that NVIDIA is doing. I love all the things that they're doing, and that's great. But Bitcoin needs security. That's the only thing that it needs. It doesn't need a processor that can also play Unreal 4. And so I guess that's an advantage, I believe, with ASIC is that because it's simplistic, more and more manufacturers like Haylong Mining and such, and Samsung and others can get into it, where we will be relegated to AMD and NVIDIA for the years to come.
I don't think we'll be relegated, but more important, you have to remember what the point of this stuff is. Satoshi Nakamoto didn't invent this alternate currency system to get us away from the banking system so that it's all controlled by a small number of hardware vendors that make specialty hardware. The idea was to use equipment you already have. The idea isn't, I can buy something from NVIDIA or I could buy something from AMD or from the next vendor who comes around the pike. The idea is I already have a computer with a graphics card. I can just turn it on and mine. I don't need to invest capital to become a miner. That is more in line with the original vision here.
All right, we've
just one more, Adam. One sentence. I just want to say that again, is that it's not about the specialty. You say that ASIC is not specialty, but in fact, it's the GPUs that are the specialization ones because they are the one that has to be all that stuff. That's what's beautiful about ASIC is that it only does one thing, and so that's just a good, I think, thing for Bitcoin because it will keep it decentralized and more manufacturers can hop in. But yeah, it is obviously more expensive for an ASIC. But yeah, they're pretty powerful machines.
I think for me is Bgold better than Bcash? I'm not trying to compare Bgold and Bitcoin. I just want I'm looking at it from the crypto dividend perspective here. Vortex, before I got a question for you for something that you said though, real quick, because we'll get back to the Bgold in a second. You said Trezor is going to make it easy for all sorts of coins to be listed, to be stored on there real soon.
Yeah. So with their new device that they just released, they also released a new API. I'm not sure if the API is released. I believe it is. If it is, it's in beta. It's this public API this SDK. It's an SDK more than an API. So what that means is that you can actually download this SDK, prep your coin for it with it, and then send it into Trezor. And then I believe that that will be a lot easier for them to add more coins. I believe that that's how I understand it, is this SDK. Well, because right now the SDK only existed in Trezor's, right, at Trezor. Now they're going to build this out for the public. So now anybody can prep their coin for the Trezor.
Yeah, they can prep it, but it'll still be up to Trezor to accept it though.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. I believe that's correct.
Okay, so okay, that's good progress there, and that is news. I'm glad you brought that up. That's important to know.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, Trezor has to do all the work.
Yeah. Well, they're the kingmakers here too. I mean, they're like with Be Private really wants to get onto there, and it's up to Trezor. So again, the Bgold is already on there, so it's in a power position to make something of itself. I mean, that makes it very unique already that it's on this, because people, well, 20%ers at least want a good safe way to store whatever coin they own, and Trezor is like the best way out there. And so for whatever reason, Bgold got on there. It was the right thing to do at the time, and that was great. And I think you guys, Edward, should really pump up that, or just remind everyone of that you guys are on there, man, that you guys are already on there, and so many other people so many other coins wish they had it that easy with the Trezor. Daniel, do you have any questions for Edward?
Actually, I was looking at the website earlier, and I saw that they were gonna be doing some sort of debit card payment system. How will that work without having Visa or Wavecrest shut it down? That's my main question.
Okay, so we are not doing a debit card payment system. We're not providing the service directly, not we as the Bitcoin Gold organization. What we're doing is we're partnering with other services who want to provide that service. And some of them are already doing a variety of card-based services based on their correspondent banks in their countries. There's already Slack being taken up in other systems, including some work internationally with MasterCard. We all know Visa pulled everything back, but there are other providers out there who are interested in providing. Just a couple days ago, I saw that another vendor was working closely with Amex to allow cryptos to be purchased directly off of Amex credit card purchases. It's going to come back. The market is out there. People want to be buying, and the credit card vendors want to be getting their percentages. This is dollars for them. So you can't dismiss everything because Visa. I mean, obviously Visa is the huge player. It caused a huge impact, and there were a lot of people horribly disadvantaged. I mean, I personally know someone who was about to travel, and suddenly their card was dead. That was how they planned to pay while traveling. They were short. I was loaning out cash to cover somebody because of that. So I mean, it was a bad thing for the industry, but that doesn't mean that it's over the credit card side of things, the debit card side of things. That just means that things shift around to other players, and the other players who get involved, the other players who get involved in this new financial ecosystem are going to be the new winners. They've given up the seat that Visa used to have, and now they have a chance to get in.
Excellent
indeed. All right, good. Before we move on here, do you have any conclusionary thought, Edward, about Bgold that you want to just put out there that you've gotten a lot of questions for, just to clear up anything?
Sure. There's just one thing I want to say that's an add-on. You were asking about comparisons between Bitcoin Gold and Bcash, and one thing that I can say is, because we kept the technology from the Bitcoin fork that was advantageous, things like Segwit, things like Bec32 addresses, we're capable of continuing to scale. We're already working on Lightning Network. Progress has happened on that. We're going to be joining in that club. We're going to be working on things like cross-chain atomic swaps later this year. we're releasing an SPV wallet, but we'll be releasing wallets to support this stuff. This is the next stage of blockchains. This is the second layer solutions, like Vortex said earlier. Microsoft was talking about it. On-chain solutions don't scale to do the kinds of creative things that people want to do, like identity management. The second layer solutions are the way to go for those sorts of expansions, for smart contracts, for other sorts of things, and we're in line to do that. And Bcash has thrown all that away. They literally stripped out the advances in technology in order to go back to just an on-scale solution. It was a terrible mistake on their part, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask you about the Lightning Network. I'm glad you. But when do you think it'll be live totally on with you guys? I mean, how many people are working on it over there?
Oh, I don't know exactly how many are working on it. It's in early stages, so I can't say much. And I'm not going to commit to any deadlines or timelines. People are always asking for timelines, and anyone who's ever worked with development knows that giving timelines is just a recipe for disaster.
It's just what everybody asks, though. When is it going to be? Because I just thought it was
We
great.
started with a conversation about what? Patience?
Yeah, exactly. I tell people are just asking me when. I tell them to be patient, and people should be patient with these guys here. They obviously they're trying to be very professional here. I like the way you guys present yourself. Only thing I could say is get on more shows like this. Keep your social media presence just rolling along. I really like when I heard that Lightning Network was going to be on there. I was like, this is cool. This is cool, man. This is like they could test net it, whatever you want to say. It's Bitcoin people can experiment on with Bgold also. So it is a friendly fork, and they didn't strip out the things like the Bcash did. And we'll see how this goes. We'll see if there becomes a battle of Bcash versus Bgold in the future. I mean, who knows what the future will bring, but I hope this answered everybody's question. If you're in the chat now, if you got questions, put them up there. We'll ask some more here, but we're gonna move back on to the this week in Bitcoin type of subjects. The what happened this week, and one thing. We were telling some pretty funny jokes before the show. I got about what we wear. Because Vortex and Daniel host their own shows too. We were talking about our wardrobes, but I'll leave that for another time. If someone donates $50 right now, I'll if someone does a $50 super chat, I'll give away the little secret that that we talked about. But something else that we were talking about was you tell us, Vortex, about this Yahoo news that came out this week. I think this is very interesting.
Yeah, so it's definitely a surreal time to be in Bitcoin and blockchain for the old school Bitcoiners like myself, because I remember, just scraping the web, just trying to find one single article about Bitcoin. And I remember the first article that went on Yahoo. It was a pretty big, huge thrill, to have a mainstream media like Yahoo cover Bitcoin. And so how far we've come now that they are now starting their own cryptocurrency exchange. So they are clearly FOMOing a bit, I guess you could say. They are seeing the industry, and they're seeing it grow, and they don't want to be left behind, because they really kind of screwed up the company during the height of the internet. Really, I mean, that Yahoo was famously known where companies go to die. Anytime they bought a startup, it was doomed to fail at some point, just because of how Yahoo manages everything. It was very corporate, very top down, and so when you have that type of situation, you will see apps just go to die. And so now, they're trying to maybe do a bit better job than that, because obviously at this point they're only really used for their standard services like email, I think, and maybe some stock stuff, but really for the most part, not many people use more services than that from Yahoo. So it seems that they're trying to stay alive, like every company, they're just trying to stay relevant. And it is kind of interesting news, because we do have a few exchanges in the US, but we're always looking for more competition. It really is, early days at this point. We're talking, maybe 2% of the country. There's been some statistics about how 8% of the country is into crypto, but that's not even close. That's ridiculous. We're more like around 1.5% or so to 2%. And so it's really early days. We really need more competition, because right now, exchanges like Coinbase, well, they're not really an exchange, but the wallet Coinbase and their exchange GDAX, they really need some competition some more competition, at least in the US. There's actually lots of other great exchanges out there, namely Bitstamp, one of the first to actually implement Segwit out there. So that's a great exchange. But yeah, this is really telling news about where we are in the life cycle of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Mainstream corporations, these big, huge companies now like Yahoo and like Twitter are starting to talk about it, starting to mention, and of course, even Facebook is talking about it as well. So, it's really, really telling, and I really think that I just want to stress that this is amazing stuff, but it really is still early days. We have a long way to go. There's a lot more exchanges that will come into play before this. And remember, companies like Coinbase, they are an on-ramp for the most part, right? That's kind of like their thing, just like AOL was an on-ramp for the internet. And eventually that people won't need an on-ramp once everybody is on the internet. So similar, I think that's how it's going to play out for Coinbase, especially since they have shown very little love for Bitcoin, only up until recently when they finally announced that they were actually implementing Segwit. Of course, the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, famously said that he owns more Ethereum than Bitcoin. So, they're not exactly friends to Bitcoin. So it's going to be fun to see, companies like Yahoo and other companies really give them a run for their money. At least I hope that they will. And this is not going to be the last. There will be more and more, especially as we enter the halving coming in 2020. There's going to be a lot of companies launched by then.
Yes, I want to say one thing. Coinbase is like the dollar on-ramp for Americans. So the more competition, the better in that realm. We need more ways for Americans to get their dollars and turn them into Bitcoin. So what I found fascinating about this Yahoo story was that, Yahoo is considered a company that's, not in the best of shape. So they're taking this chance. They're seeing crypto as a way to get back to becoming elite again, to becoming the love of like it's 1997 again, and they're the hottest thing because they need to be reinvigorated. So they're taking this chance and they're saying we're going to, in the year 20, I think they're aiming for 2019 to have a cryptocurrency exchange. And if they can actually pull this off and totally rejuvenate themselves, this will be something that all sorts of other tech companies that are down on their luck will jump on. And that'll be great for cryptocurrency. It'll be great for people who want to, use their dollars to get cryptocurrency. And I guess it'll be great for the stock prices of these companies that are now just floating around, not doing very much. If this all works out, there are a lot of ifs there, but
one last quick. We should probably point out, Adam, real quick. We should probably point out that this is Yahoo Japan. So yeah. There actually are going to be the place that they were thinking about starting the exchange was Japan, and so that's a really big and important thing because Japan is very, very friendly to Bitcoin right now. They made it legal tender. There's a bunch of exchanges. People are embracing it like crazy over there, and so that really is cool because Yahoo basically probably looked at the U.S. and looked at Japan. They're like, probably should start it in Japan first, just to make it easier for the regulation.
That's very telling. That's very telling. Also, I mean, it shows that there's too much regulation. There's that Japan is a more friendly environment to take this chance to try and reinvigorate your business. Edward, you said you're from the traditional background of this type of thing. What do you think about all this? Do you think this is a Hail Mary type of thing that Yahoo's trying to pull here? And if it works out, it's going to be a good thing?
I think Yahoo's portfolio of companies is broader than a lot of people realize, but it's absolutely true that they haven't been relevant as a brand, and this is an attempt at being relevant. I think they're looking at the success of up and growing companies like Robinhood. Robinhood is also in the process of launching Robinhood Crypto, and is super popular. Everybody's pushing them to move to more states to add more coins. Everyone's interested. This is an attempt to maintain relevance for the Yahoo brand, and it might work. It might work because there isn't enough competition in the crypto exchange space. So, hey, if they can bring crypto to the masses, if they can bring us more on-ramps in their efforts to become relevant, great. That's good for us. Yes, very good point there. I wanted to say that Don Cornelius in the chat, he just sent $5 super chat. I love your name, dude. He says, thanks for the show, Hodl B. Don Cornelius. That's just like Don Cornelius, baby. Oh yeah, Soul Train. All right, okay. Daniel, what do you think about this Yahoo thing? Any thoughts on it? I left you out there by accident. Sorry, man.
No, it's okay. Well, I hope it works. I mean, it probably might turn out to be a new Kodak mining company.
There you go,
Yes.
baby. And that's the downside of this. No, that's that you're
Yeah.
absolutely.
I hope it works though. I mean, yeah, in Mexico here we only have like 2 exchanges pretty much. We had 3. One disappeared, and well, another one that can help people around the world wouldn't help. Well,
Hey, but
it would help a lot.
you got who? What's the one that was on my show? You're friends with that dude that you got him on my show before from the Mexican exchange.
Bitso,
Yeah, Bitso. Yeah. What's that guy's name? I always forget.
Daniel Bogle.
Daniel All. Yeah, he was a good guy. That you see, Daniel here, 21 million does a lot of things behind the scenes also. Dude. This guy's he's a mover and a shaker behind the scenes. All right, we're gonna wrap it up right now. Everyone's gonna tell a story or see something that they got left out here. You know how it goes. I'll start with Vortex. What did we forget to talk about? We didn't talk about Jack. You want to talk about Jack or
Yeah,
you can talk about anything, man.
There was a couple people that the couple celebrities. There's been a bunch of growing amount of celebrities, right? We've had Ellen talk about it. We've had the Late Show talk about it. We're having Peter Thiel talk about it, and now just most recently we've had Jack Dorsey talk about it. And so we're seeing more and more of these Silicon Valley and these tech company CEOs start to mention Bitcoin, and not only mention it, but literally sing its praises. Jack actually said that Bitcoin is the one currency that can actually power the whole planet. I mean, this is huge. This is huge for him to say, especially since he is a U.S. citizen and he is using day to day usually the most powerful currency in the world, right, which is the dollar. But he still says that Bitcoin will be the one world currency. So that's actually pretty damning to all the central banks and Federal Reserve and things like that. Much more damning than the average person thinks. And so I think that's really great. I mean, he could have said that the U.S. government and the Federal Reserve are all going down and are horrible, and it wouldn't have been as bad as what he said basically with Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is going to be the one currency to rule them all. So it's really great to see that, and I'm just excited to see more and more of these companies start to speak up about Bitcoin, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. It has been a pattern, and you can see the trend that more and more will mention this.
Well, as we were talking about off the air, I like it that these big names are talking a big game, okay? And they're talking the talk. I am eagerly awaiting the day that one of these guys walks the walk and somehow incorporates cryptocurrency into Twitter or into whatever company they're involved in here. We're getting a little bit of weird feedback from somebody out there, but that's talk is good. Talk is good for now. But I'm really looking forward to the action from one of these, and it will happen. It will happen. So let's that's when I'm going to get really excited. That's why I left this Jack stuff for the end, because it's just good. I'm happy that the big names are talking about it, but I'm about walking the walk. There's a big difference between walking the walk and talking the talk, but they'll walk the walk soon enough. Edward, what are your closing thoughts? Anything about Bitcoin, Bgold, anything, anything you want to say here? Anything that was left out?
Okay, I was actually having a conversation with someone about high net worth individuals from the traditional side of things and their interest in cryptocurrency, and they've always been looking for ways to hedge. They're always looking for ways to find things that are not correlated to traditional investments, and more they're looking to crypto as that hedge. And it has just taken a spike because right now the environment is so uncertain. What with the higher government budgets and therefore government debts, what with the potential trade wars looming, we all see the S&P 500 is sliding right now. People are thinking we need to be hedging our bets. We need to be buying something like crypto. That is good for us long term. But also it sparked this weird bit of conversation. Some of us in the crypto space, we have a lot of assets held in crypto. We should be hedging our bets in crypto. And you know what our hedge should be? Buying regular stocks and bonds. That's right. For a crypto guy, the hedge fund is normal stocks and bonds.
Well, there you go. There's a perspective from the traditional side of things that we do not hear about very much in terms of diversification. You're right. For the crypto person, that's diversification. It goes back into traditional stuff. That's how you balance it off. Now, I'm not giving any financial advice here, and neither are you. But there is a unique perspective there that you don't hear much on these shows. Daniel, we're going to let you close it off here. Remember, everybody's links are below this video. I linked to all these dudes, all the stuff they're involved in. Daniel's got a great consultancy down there in Mexico. I often send people over to him. Some of you that are watching this know who he is because I've sent you over there. And remember, everyone, pound that like button one last time. Daniel, take it away. What was left off? What do you want to say, add, promote?
Well, I was talking to Rocky Palumbo earlier. Me and Rocky Palumbo, we talk pretty much every night, and he sent me an article about the students in the U.S., college students, using their government money, for school, for student loans. They're using it to buy Bitcoin. I mean, if you can afford it, and if you know what you're doing, I don't know how legal it is, but using these loans for that, but just be careful what you do.
You know what? You guys sent me that article, man. Because first of all, I've known for a while there are all sorts of so-called students that get these loans and they don't go to the college. They just blow it on whatever. And so they're stealing from the government. But this is a little bit more creative. They're stealing and they're putting it into Bitcoin. So I'm not saying I approve of it. It's interesting. It's better than buying tattoos and fancy rings and stuff. But yeah, try not to steal from the taxpayers, people. That's not too cool. But I send me that article. I will talk about it in my next show. And I do think that's a great way of wrapping it up. And yeah, shout outs to Rocky. I'm glad you and him you're hanging out online and everything like that. Rocky's in California. You're in Mexico, but you got the connection, man. You got the Bitcoin cryptocurrency connection. And that's the beautiful thing about this, man. Anywhere in the world, if you're part of this Bitcoin thing, you can bond with people. I mean, when I was just in Africa, I'm bonding with my people from Zimbabwe, Mozambique. Otherwise, we wouldn't really have that much to talk about. So it's a beautiful bonding thing. I'm glad to have all of my guests on the show today. Thank you very much. It was a unique one today. Please spread the word on social media, everyone. Remember, we do this Week in Bitcoin wrap-up show every Friday. The time varies. We did a little bit late today, but hey, whatever. And I do post a new show on this Bitcoin Meister channel every single day. So remember, I'm Adam Meister, Bitcoin Meister, Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video, check out the notes section below. Pound that like button, everybody. Everybody have a great weekend. Bye-bye. Thank you, guests. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.